The Whispering Shadows of Egbado. In the dense, verdant forest of Egbado, where the canopy of trees wove a perpetual twilight and the air hummed with the sounds of unseen creatures, lay the village of Agoro. The village was small but vibrant, nestled between the ancient baobab trees and the sacred river that flowed with crystal-clear water. Agoro was known for its rich traditions and its deep connection to the spiritual realm. The villagers worshipped ancestors and revered the forest spirits, believing that their fate was intertwined with the unseen forces of the land. One crisp evening, as the sun began to set and the forest turned a shade of deep blue, the villagers gathered for the moon festival. It was a time of celebration and reflection, where they honored their ancestors with songs, dances, and offering. The festival was particularly important this year, as it marked the centennial of an event that had become the stuff of legend. A tale whispered with shivers and caution among the villagers. The story began many years ago with a young man named Duro, known for his daring spirit and inquisitive nature. Duro had always been fascinated by the mysteries of the forest and the tales of the ancestors. One fateful night, driven by an insatiable curiosity, he ventured deep into the heart of the forest, beyond the boundaries set by the village elders. The elders had warned him of the dangers that lay within, malevolent spirits and dark forces that roamed freely, unseen but ever present. Duro's journey led him to a hidden grove, where he discovered an ancient, abandoned shrine covered in thick vines. The shrine was adorned with carvings of twisted figures and symbols that seemed to shift and writhe in the dim light. At its center lay a stone pedestal, upon which rested a dark, intricately carved box. Compelled by an irresistible force, Duro opened the box, unknowingly releasing a malevolent spirit trapped within. That very night, as Duro returned to the village, he began to exhibit strange behavior. He spoke of voices whispering to him from the shadows and of unseen eyes following his every move. The once joyful young man became sullen and withdrawn, plagued by nightmarish visions that left him haunted and desperate. The villagers, alarmed by his transformation, sought the counsel of the village shaman and young priestess named Ezie. She performed rites and rituals to cleanse Duro of the dark spirit, but her efforts were in vain. The spirit had latched onto him, feeding on his fear and despair, growing stronger with each passing day. As Duro's condition worsened, the village fell into a state of dread. It was said that on moonless nights, eerie shadows would dance at the edges of the forest, whispering in a language no one could understand. The villagers could feel the spirit's presence, and the once vibrant village became cloaked in an air of unease. One night, driven mad by the whispers and the dark presence within him, Duro disappeared into the forest, never to be seen again. The villagers believed he had become a vessel for the dark spirit, roaming the forest in a twisted form, lost to the shadows. The grove and the shrine were abandoned, and the villagers placed an eternal curse on the place, forbidding anyone from entering. The tale of Duro became a cautionary legend, a story told to children, keep them close to the village and away from the dangerous unknown. The Moon Festival was held every year in remembrance, not just to honor the ancestors, but to pay tribute to Duro and to remind the villagers of the dangers that lay beyond the safety of their home. As the current Moon Festival approached, the villagers of Agoro prepared with a mixture of reverence and fear. Among them was a young woman named Kemi, who had recently returned to the village after studying in the city. Kemi was known for her intelligence and her deep respect for the traditions of her people. But she was also curious about the legends and the truth behind them. The evening of the festival arrived, and the village was alight with activity. The air was filled with the aroma of roasted meats and the sound of traditional drums. The villagers danced and sang around the bonfires, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. Kemi observed the festivities with a contemplative gaze, her mind occupied with thoughts of the old legend. As the night deepened, Kemi felt a pull towards the forest. The stories of Duro had intrigued her, and she found herself drawn to the ancient shrine, wanting to understand the source of the village's fears. Despite the warnings and the elders' stern advice, she decided to venture into the forest alone. The forest was eerily quiet as Kemi made her way through the dense undergrowth. Canopy above blocked out the moonlight, plunging her into a darkness that seemed almost tangible. The whispering of the leaves and the distant hoots of owls created an unsettling atmosphere. Kemi pressed on, determined to uncover the truth. After what felt like hours of navigating the twisted paths, she arrived at the hidden grove. The shrine stood as it had been described, an imposing structure, covered in vines and shadows. Carvings on the shrine seemed to watch her with malevolent eyes, and a chill ran down her spine as she approached. Kemi's heart pounded as she reached the stone pedestal and saw the dark box resting upon it. The box was old and weathered, but it still held an aura of foreboding. Remembering the tale of Duro, Kemi hesitated, but her curiosity overpowered her fear. With trembling hands she opened the box. A rush of cold air surged from within, and a whispering voice filled her ears. The sound was incoherent, a jumble of ancient languages and distorted cries. The shadows around the shrine seemed to come alive, swirling and converging into dark forms that moved with a life of their own. Kemi's resolve faltered as she felt an oppressive presence surrounding her. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, urging her to leave the grove. Desperate to escape, she turned to run, but the forest seemed to have shifted, its paths twisting and leading her deeper into darkness. In her panic, Kemi stumbled upon an old, crumbling hut hidden among the trees. The hut was decrepit, its walls covered in moss and vines. Driven by fear and exhaustion, she entered the hut, hoping to find shelter. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the remnants of old rituals lay scattered about. Charms, bones, and faded inscriptions. As Kemi explored the hut, she found an old journal, its pages yellowed with age. The journal belonged to a previous guardian of the shrine, who had chronicled the history of the dark spirit and the efforts to contain it. The entries revealed that the spirit was an ancient entity, bound by powerful magic but released through greed and curiosity. The journal also contained a ritual to banish the spirit, but it required a sacrifice, an offering from someone who had willingly ventured into the spirit's domain. Kemi realized with horror that she was the offering, and her presence had disturbed the delicate balance that had kept the spirit contained. Determined to prevent the spirit from wreaking havoc on her village, Kemi decided to perform the ritual. She gathered the necessary items from the hut and prepared the altar. As she began the incantations, the shadows around her grew more aggressive, their whispers turning into anguished wails. Kemi fought against the overwhelming fear and completed the ritual, invoking the names of the ancestors and pleading for their protection. The air crackled with energy, and the shadows seemed to recoil as if in pain. The spirit's presence intensified, but Kemi's determination and the power of the ritual began to push it back. With one final incantation, the spirit let out a chilling scream, and the shadows dissipated. The grove was once again silent, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. Exhausted but resolute, Kemi knew she had to return to the village and warn them of the dangers still lurked. As dawn approached, Kemi made her way back to Agoro. The village was waking up to the festival's aftermath, unaware of the harrowing ordeal she had endured. Kemi recounted her experience to the elders, who listened with grave concern. The villagers were shocked and troubled by her account, realizing that the threat had been real and that their traditions had protected them only for so long. In the days that followed, the village of Agoro took new precautions. They strengthened their rituals and increased their vigilance, ensuring that the forest's dark secrets remained contained. The tale of Kemi's bravery became a new legend, a story of courage and sacrifice that reinforced the importance of respecting the ancient boundaries and honoring the spirits.